Okay, it's lights out snaring. Just want to talk about these coil snare support wires we have here. So this is the newest version. We've got, instead of the coil being just stopped, shut, or cut off here, we've lengthened it out. Reason for that is to be able to turn this ahead to run a collar support on it. Some guys were wanting to run a little longer snares, and I just listening to what the customers are wanting, and so we made a couple upgrades, and so that was one of them. The other is length. So our standard length is 40 inches. When you get into the bigger trees and stuff, we don't have quite the reach with the wire guys we're wanting. So we've got a 58-inch wire. And for those guys that want to do their own wires, adding wire to it to their own lengths, like I've got some people adding up to 5 feet of 9 wire to these. So we've got these 12-inch wires. So there's a couple different things with the 12-inch wires that we can do. If you're wanting to run collar supports, longer snares, you're finding you don't have the cover, you want to try to sneak that snare out over the trail by attaching your own length of wire to it. We use a 1/8 double ferrule to do this. So if you're wanting to do that, this is what it looks like. So this is backwards. Like normally we'd be running it out this way and threading the snare in right over the trail here. This gives you this option here now, so we can anchor this to the tree. We can sneak this over the trail and put a collar support. So we're going to run a little longer snare, and I'll show you what this all looks like here in a minute. But I wanted to just show you the options with these wires and what we can do with them. Now here's on the other end of this. I can show you here. This is what the original looked like. And again, we added another coil and a half to the length of the coil. It's just how it worked out on the machine. Every one of these is coming out hang on exact, and there's no fighting and playing around when we're threading snares into them. So I want to go through anchoring these to a tree. I can't stress it enough not to use your pliers when we're tightening these on, because one of the benefits to this system is having our swivel on the tree here. So this is a 40-inch wire, and this is a roughly 6-inch diameter tree. I'm just going to show you how I wrap these, how I tie these to the tree, and just show you the benefits to it. Now, if you're finding that the snare, or the wire is too long, all I'm doing, so when I start here, is I come around the tree and I go just like that. I go as short as I can on the tail end. So now, it's up in the air, it's for demonstration purposes, but this is anchored here. But you can see how this moves on the tree. That creates a nice swivel point here. It's a solid anchor. If you can bend your snare, have everything, it's sitting here. I'll thread this in so you can just see how this system works. Okay, so we're running our Signature Series kill spring here on this snare. On the end, I leave a roughly a 1-inch cable sticking out, and it's just, if that single stop is going to skid a little bit, it just gives it a little extra cable to slide on and catch. Now you can use double ferrules, which like this, make a loop on the end, and I mean that isn't coming off at all. I like running the single stops. We're running our washers here, which come up against the back of this coil, and that's the anchor end of things. So as we're putting our snare in, this is all we're doing, is weaving it into these coils. So now you can see those washers come up against the backs of the coils. Now this is your snare is anchored. and there's your snare loop. So we're running a Signature Series spring on here. These are some 5/64 custom made Kef locks for lights out snaring. They're a little bit bigger holes and they slide a little faster on these cables. We're running 5/64 1x19 black snare cable, and we have that in stock here too. And we're running a 280-pound Sullivan breakaway on these coyote snares. So that's, that is what I'm running for coyotes. It's not for everybody, but with the way our kill springs function, we don't need a big long run to get that trigger to release. And this is 42 inches of cable, and if I had this slid down the tree where it was sitting, that would be exactly how I would set that. But as this comes tight, so this all stretches out, but you can see how this just pivots on the tree, and that's the whole what we want to see. Because if we plier tighten this up, right here where we finished cranking on that with the pliers, that's just going to create a friction point on this annealed wire, and it's going to break off. And if we don't need the pliers in the field, it's ideal. It's just one less thing, right? Now, if we're at the end of the season, you want to take your snares out. Again, I'm running bait stations, same spots year after year. So this wire now is sitting there for me next year. And I come into the bait station. I'll leave my snare in. This thing is set and ready to go, and off to the next one. So all my snares I make, let's say 42 inches long. This is a big loop. I don't want a big loop in this scenario or situation. I shorten that loop up by pulling that snare back this way out the back side. I can shrink that loop up. If you're wanting to dress the area up, or you're wanting to camouflage your springs and stuff a little bit, it's just a matter of shoving stuff inside that coil. You can press stuff into the coil, have it so it's sitting like this. There's multiple options to what we can do with these. And again, I realize that on the anchor end of these cables or these wires, they're going to get marred up if you're bouncing from place to place with them. That again, the coils, if the coils are still in great shape or good shape, it's just a matter of using a double ferrule. You cut your wire, use an 1/8 inch double ferrule, crimp it onto a new chunk of wire, and you're off to the races again. So you can reuse these. They're not a one-time, one trick pony. They function, and I've had them at bait stations for a couple, 2-3 years now that I've had them out, and I've got some of these wires that I've caught 25 to 30 coyotes on, and they're still in good shape, and I'm hoping to continue catching on them again here next year. So that's what this snare looks like, and this, anchoring it to the tree and having that pivot point. If you find that there were too loose on the tree, which happens, my suggestion is, instead of tightening this up more, take your pliers and just you can give it a little turn back here on the tree, and it snugs it up. So it doesn't create a friction point, and it's going to wiggle around and it's going to come loose again. But it's a better alternative than cranking this up tighter and weakening that wire. So with that, with that being said, I'm going to show you what this other wire looks like now. So this is the other wire we were talking about, where I've added that, turned that coil around. So that's how that coil would come. I've straightened this tail out, and we've added it onto a length of 9 wire to wrap around this tree to get that snare hanging up over the trail. So that being said, we'll anchor this again. So I'm going as short as I can on the tail end. You're gonna notice I've got that there. Okay. Now I come down the tree. We're going to come over. So now I've got this snare. This snare it's a longer snare length because our coil's back further, and we've got a collar support on it. We're also running our A1 trigger and spring, so it's a Magnum size spring. We've got a 5/64 Kef lock on here, made for us here at Lights Out. And so I'm just going to weave this through. This gets wound into the coil, and we've got our anchor there. And here's our our collar support here, and it's one of the twist on their left hand thread. So I want this loop a little bit smaller. I'm going to twist that on, and now what we've got, right? We're kind of we've snuck that out over the trail now. This stuff, you can camouflage this back here so that it's hidden, and just gives you options, and that's what guys are wanting to see. They're wanting to see these options and the versatility of this system, and again, that's what we got. So we're loose on the tree. I'll just grab my pliers. Just gonna give it a little twist right there. Everything's snugged up, and we can position this wherever we want it now, and it's going to be there and solid. And when they're caught, they're going to pull. That collar support's coming off, and likely you're just going to find your coyote or your fox or wolf, whatever you're snaring, laying on the trail. I recommend these slide locks. There's just no slip in them. If you examine them after a catch, the price of them are basically throwaway prices. I think if you're finding that the lock has got a little damage to it, just replace it, throw a new one on, and then you should have the same results with a new lock. I think sometimes if we're starting to have troubles with catches and things going wrong, I think we're overusing our equipment, and it might be what's contributing to some of the problems that we're having. Now, I've been playing with this snare quite a bit, so the loop is a little bit wonky on her, but it gives you a real good option of what you can do with these pieces. These ship cheaper than the full lengths, and then you can custom make them to whatever length you need or want, and you have the versatility. The other thing that we can do with these wires as well, if you're martin trapping, fisher trapping, you can anchor these to a tree, and you can weave your conibear snare or your conibear cable through this. This is your anchor system and your quick release, and it's just another way of utilizing these pieces and making them work for you. So Lights Out Snaring .ca is our website. We've got a YouTube channel, Lights Out Snaring, and lightsoutSnaring@gmail.com. If you've got questions, interested in anything, you want to check out our kill springs. We've got the Magnum size and our Signature Series, which our Signature Series spring is it's the largest kill spring on the market, and it has tremendous amount of power, and you can see the size difference, and how our triggers are on the spring, so we're not chasing pieces, we're not rebuying pieces. These triggers release roughly at 26.5 pounds and are a consistent, very easy trigger to set. I'll just demonstrate setting it. We've got our new pliers coming out here shortly too, so you guys are going to see these coming out. We've gone away from the screws because the bigger springs are just folding the screws over. But you can see by setting that, that's how that sits. Okay, it's a very simple trigger system, and when it goes to drop away, you just see how that releases. Okay, it's very important, and that's why we can get away with running shorter snares. I know it's not. There's lots of areas where we want longer snares, and I'm not saying this system is strictly a short snare system, but it just goes to show how the snare and the springs and stuff function running them shorter. We can we're killing stuff with 38 inches of cable plus whatever our anchor wires are, so it the springs are working, the locks are working. We've got a solid foundation to a great snare here. So look us up, check us out, and if you have questions, please email me or get a hold of us on Facebook, and we'll do what we can to help you out with if you got questions and or concerns, and we'll go from there. Lights Out Snaring. Thank you.